Hello and welcome to Sharon Local History. I would like to tell you a little bit about basic of blacksmithing in New England and America, and then concentrate on the blacksmith shops that we know of that were here in Sharon, Massachusetts. You may find it helpful to use the pause button for some of the articles. Blacksmithing was the fourth most popular trade after lumber milling, flour milling, and shoemaking. Blacksmith had the ability to fashion a variety of important items out of iron and steel. Many people relied on their local blacksmith to create essential everyday products for use in the home and in the fields. Even after the rise of industry in the second half of the 18th century, blacksmiths found ways to remain vital members of their communities. They evolved their services to fit specific needs. Before 1850, blacksmiths forged nails at the rate of one per minute, which made them expensive. Nails were so valuable that arsonists would burn down buildings just to collect the nails left behind. But by the end of the century, machines could make hundreds of nails per hour and at a cost that made nails easily replaceable instead of priced. Industrialization of some parts of their jobs resulted in blacksmiths turning their attention to shoeing horses and making and repairing wagons and carriages. Blacksmiths maintained a level of prestige as skilled tradesmen within the transportation industry. Blacksmiths and their skills were very valued. Many people relied on them to create the tools and implements necessary for survival. Most blacksmiths created and repaired farm equipment such as hoes, plows, rakes, and other tools, as well as hardware and wheels for wagons, kitchen utensils, and horseshoes. To serve as many people as possible, many blacksmiths became jack of all trades. They were able to create close relationships with other businesses, which helped them advertise their services. Many blacksmiths were not only skilled tradesmen, but also a businessman. They had to negotiate compensation for their services, which was in the form of cash or trade or exchange of service. For basic repair, they earned $1 to $1.50 a day. For making new items, between $5 to $5.50 a day. In 1800s, $1 was basically is equivalent to $21.67 today. Demand for this profession was high, and many young men and some women decided to pursue the trade. To become a blacksmith required to spend years working alongside master blacksmith and learning trade slowly through experience. Blacksmith shops required basic large equipment, forge, bellows, anvil, as well as small tools, which were for specific jobs: hammers, tongs, forms, wedges, chisels. Most blacksmiths wore functional everyday clothing and large leather aprons and sturdy boots. They did not wear gloves, as they preferred direct contact with the metal pieces they worked on. Blacksmiths worked mostly with wrought iron and later, in about 1840s, with steel. They ordered the materials from commercial manufacturers or bought directly from local general stores. Merchants sold the raw materials in hoops or bars. They were priced by length. In the 1830s, wrought iron cost about 6 cents a pound, while steel cost 20 cents a pound. To save money, collecting scrap metal and leftovers from previous jobs was very common. The shops of blacksmiths were very practical. Usually, they were just one room made from wood or bricks or stone. The shop had usually dirt floor or wooden floor. They were warmer. The buildings that had actually wooden floors were warmer. Most blacksmiths preferred dark shops so they could see the glow of the heated metal, so most shops had only one or two windows. Many shops had a domestic area, which was basically a waiting room. Some had a fireplace and just a table and chairs. Customers were able to watch the blacksmith working on their order. Many would just relax there, smoke a pipe, or read a newspaper, or chat with their friends or other customers. People of all backgrounds and occupation relied on blacksmiths to create the items they needed for their everyday activities. Many shops were the heart of the community. Most blacksmiths were actually farmers, especially in rural communities, and their jobs depended on the season. And now I would like to tell you a little bit about blacksmithing right here in Sharon. We know a few blacksmith shops. There was one on Washington Place of South Main Street, that was the most centrally located. Another one was of Ames Street, right below Hammershop Pond. There was also one on what is now 14 Tolman Street, right very close to of South Main Street basically. And of course there was large one on Furnace Street by Gavin's Pond. So let's talk about the one of Washington Place. That was definitely the most popular and centrally located, and it was owned by Captain T. Derry, and it was occupied by his son Oliver H. Derry. This is a newspaper clipping from Sharon Advocate that basically announces Oliver Derry taking possession of the blacksmith shop. The blacksmith shop on Washington Place was an important landmark in the village. Here are pictures before and after. This is how Oliver Derry, the blacksmith, advertised his business in the local paper. Apparently Chernofer stood in the open door and watched the brownie smith and the sparks flying off the anvil like chaff from a threshing floor on coming home from school. This blacksmith shop was built in 1782 by the father of the late Joel P. Hewins. Its location was originally just to the left of Hewins' homestead of South Main Street. It was occupied for many years as a blacksmith shop by Mr. Hewins, and then it was passed to his son, Joe P. Hewins. He was actually clerk of town Sharon. The later moved to its present location in Washington Place, and it remained there for many years. The old shop was being successfully occupied by a man named Knapp, K-N-A-P-P, and also H.F. Leonard, and later Oliver H. Derry. In the declining years, the late Mr. Hewins used to make it a point to pass an hour or two a day in the old shop. He was discussing events with the late Mr. Calvin, Mr. Turner, and other old residents. Mr. Derry had an ancient armchair which was placed in the shop by Mr. Turner for his own occupancy. He took considerable pride in pointing it out to visitors. The shop, in spite of its great age, was a model one in terms of equipment. because Oliver Derry replaced the old equipment with entirely new outfit. That placed him in a position to turn out work of the highest class in the blacksmith line. Another blacksmith shop was on 14 Tolman Street. It was owned by Mr. Leary. It was a small, just one-bedroom building with a pot-belly stove. Eventually, the house was renovated and added on, and it is now private residence. And last, but certainly not least, is the blacksmith shop that was at Gavin's Pond. It was called Deacon Fairbanks. There was actually an archaeological dig done in 1984 by members of Sharon Historical Society, and the Boston University archaeologists assisted, and they confirmed that the Stoughton furnace truly existed in that area. They also found pieces of molds that were used to cast the cannon for Revolutionary War. Unfortunately, all the buildings are long gone, but the Stoughtonham's furnace site was placed on the National Register of Historic Places. Stoughtonham furnace site is the site of a colonial-era iron foundry in Foxborough and Sharon, Massachusetts. It's right on the borderline. It was first established in 1760s. The site drew the attention of Artillery Colonel Richard Gridley following the outbreak of the American Revolutionary War in 1775. Gridley and some business partners acquired the property, and the foundry produced cannons and ammunition for the Continental Army through the war. The site is located on Gavin's Pond area near Foxborough Line, and it is on National Register of Historic Places since 1984. There was also use for services of local blacksmiths during the era of ice industry right here in Sharon. We know we had at least 5 ice houses, and the demand for keeping all the machinery and tools was huge. This photo is one of the biggest ice houses that we have right here on the lake. It was 300 feet tall, long, and 150 deep and 50 high. The shuttle on the left side was basically incline, that was bringing the ice on the top of other ice, and it was 200 feet long, and it had basically lots of machinery and iron chains that needed to be in great shape. So that was very important for blacksmiths to check on and possibly to repair. Sharon was a real old-fashioned country town, and blacksmith shops were definitely a very important part of the community. So this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments, feel free to comment down below. You can also subscribe to our channel, Sharon Local History, and you can join us on Facebook for some fun conversations. The name of the group is Sharon Local History. Thank you.